Bishland Farms is back, y'all! I completed the community center before the end of the first year, but I wasn't satisfied with leaving the playthrough there. And so we continue. Starting where the last series left off, on the morning of Winter 19, I get a letter from Willie in the mail saying that he has something to show me. I also get a ton more cooking and crafting recipes thanks to all the friendship points I earned by fixing up the CC. And Pierre's is now open 7 days a week. I of course want to address Willie's letter, but even in winter there are distractions aplenty. For one thing, my first ancient fruit is ready to be picked in the greenhouse. I also have some errands to run. I need to drop off a cave carrot for Marnie. You know, it would have been easier to just give her one when she stopped by, but whatever. Then I head down to the sewers to buy an iridium sprinkler from Krobus. After that, I have to go all the way up the mountain to chase down Alex, as he has a help wanted quest for some algae that he wants to put in a taco? Okay, man. On the way to the spa, I run into the wizard. He asks me to retrieve his magic ink from his ex-wife. Only problem is, he sealed her away because she turned green and started cursing stuff after he cheated on her. And like, honestly, I get it. Crash out, queen. Once I've given Alex his unorthodox taco ingredient, I spend the rest of the day on my favorite pastime, chopping wood. The next morning, I use some of that wood to craft a few more kegs before I head off to Clint's to pick up my gold hoe. Back in the sewers, I speak to Krobus, and he unseals the entrance to the mutant bug lair. While I'm slicing my way through weeds and these weird green bugs, I find 2 secret notes. One is from Mr. Chi telling me about a secret in a dark tunnel, and the other says someone is waiting for me on level 100 of the Skull Caverns. With those 2 things now added to my ever-growing to-do list, I finally find the Dark Talisman. On the way back to the train station, I stop by Robin's to buy a few useful items. After using the Dark Talisman to break the wizard's seal, I warp to the Witch's Swamp, only to be stopped by her goblin henchmen. I spend the rest of the day educating myself at the library, digging up wormies, and using my new phone to check on building costs. On the 21st, I craft more kegs, deliver some hardwood to Robin, and spend the evening fishing at the beach. Wine is done when I get back, so I refill the kegs before I head to bed. The next morning, Jody stops by and invites me to join her family for dinner, provided I supply a major ingredient for the meal. It's also a Monday, so once my chores are done, I check the special orders board and accept Emily's rock rejuvenation quest. I managed to catch a largemouth bass in time to join Jody, Sam, and Vincent for dinner, and after that, I stopped by the saloon with my pockets full of gems, only to be interrupted by Clint giving me his nice guy sob story and proving that he has less riz than Shane of all people. Once I'm done suffering through that, I hand Emily the gemstones she asked for and head home. As a reward for finishing that quest, Emily sends me a sewing machine in the mail the next morning. I head into town to get some geodes processed, donate a few things to the museum, and drop my watering can off for upgrading. Then I finally get around to visiting the back room of Willie's shop. Willie shows me his broken down boat, gives me a list of materials he'd need to fix it, and says that if it were repaired, he'd be able to take me to the Fern Islands. With those materials added to the list, I deliver an earth crystal to Evelyn, and find Leah in the saloon to give her a birthday gift. Then I spend the rest of the day chopping hardwood in the secret woods. On the 24th, I make a trip into the quarry mine to get my hands on the golden scythe. The wood situation is also getting pretty bad, so I take the bus into the desert purely to chop down the trees there. It takes me pretty much the entire afternoon to cut them all down, so after that I just head home and go to bed. What I'm not expecting is a visit from the wizard's ex that night. Honestly, I don't know what he's so worried about. This egg she left me looks awesome. In addition to the void egg, which I immediately place in the incubator, I also pick up a gold quality rabbit's foot, just in time for the Feast of Winter Star. At the festival, I quickly chat with everyone and give Harvey the rabbit's foot. My secret gift giver turns out to be Emily, who gives me a purple mushroom. Well, anyway, On the next day, I buy another sprinkler from Crowless, deliver an albacore to Gus, and head into the desert with my pockets full of tree seeds. Am I permanently altering the landscape here? Maybe. But I'm desperate for wood, and breaking down hardwood just isn't enough. While I'm in the area, I peek into the skull caverns. I'm not very prepared and the luck is only neutral, so I don't make it down that far, but I still come away with a few goodies to show for it. The 27th is finally a good luck day. At this point, I still believe that daily luck affects what you get out of the seed makers, which is totally a myth, by the way. So I put 2 ancient fruits I've gathered in there, and sadly one of them turns into mixed seeds, but I'm still happy to get at least one. I also put some star fruits and strawberries in the seed makers so I can start filling out the greenhouse a bit more. Then I suit up for a more earnest trip to the skull caverns. I have 2 main objectives here. Gather iridium and make it to level 100. The first objective I managed to succeed in pretty easily, as the deeper down I got, the more prevalent iridium and the monsters that drop it became. And I make a really solid attempt at the second objective, but a combination of poor timing and insufficient materials prevents me from reaching my goal. It was a good run all in all, but having to call it quits when I was so close definitely stung a little. The spirits are back to their displeased selves the next day, so I turn my attention to my other responsibilities. Now that I have my hands on a few iridium sprinklers, I begin to execute a new layout in the greenhouse. Then I head to the shed to smelt some of that iridium I scored. After refilling my kegs, I head into town for a classic Clint and Gunther run. I pick up my gold watering can and get some geodes processed before ordering a copper trash can upgrade. Then it's to the museum to drop off a few donations. I spend the rest of the evening planning and prepping for the next season and the beginning of my second year in the valley. Spring begins with a visit from Kent, who has returned from serving overseas. Then, as I'm walking into Pierre's for my spring seeds, I get roped into a game of Journey of the Prairie King with Abigail, and I manage to help her through the first level. I buy most of the seeds I need from Pierre, and yes, I finally counted how many I need, before heading into the desert where I buy a few rhubarb seeds from Sandy. Having a fully thought out plan, and being equipped with better tools this time around, I get the first seeds of the season in the ground and watered with a perfectly reasonable amount of time to spare. And as I tuck into bed, I hear the sound of thunder in the distance. The next morning, I stop by Clint's to pick up my copper trash can and place an order for a steel one. Upon checking the special orders board, I see that the prismatic jelly quest is available again. I wander onto the beach and run into Seb at the pier. He talks about how he enjoys the rain because it gives him the chance to go out while most people stay inside. He gets anxious being around people, but not around me. In striking contrast with that moment, the next thing I do is head up to the mines so I can hunt for that prismatic slime. I don't manage to find it, but I'm also making progress on a few Monster Slayer goals. I also get to level 10 mining, choosing gemologist for my profession. On the 3rd, the funny egg the witch left me hatches, and I happily welcome Smudge to the family before heading back to the mines. And despite all of my efforts, it's another bust in terms of prismatic slime. The next day is a good luck day, so I put the prismatic slime business on hold for another skull cavern run. This run doesn't go quite as smoothly as the last. By 12 AM, I'm only on level 66 and am running out of bombs, so I decide to call it quits there. It was still worth the trip though, as I hit level 9 combat that evening. On the 5th, I harvest garlic and parsnips before stopping by the traveling cart. I purchase a rare seed, then go to Marnie's to buy a second pig, who is named Baconator. Then it's back to the regular mines. The night comes to a close with still no prismatic jelly in my hands, so I stop by the guild to check my progress on monster slaying just so I could feel some sense of accomplishment before heading home. The next day brings my second harvest of ancient fruit, which I'm still setting aside for good luck days like a noob. I pick up my steel trash can and do all the normal Clint and Gunther things before returning to the mines. I hunt until 8 PM and head home with nothing to show for, giving up on the quest once again. The 7th is another good luck day, but I have far too much to do for a Skull Cavern run to be possible. Plus, I don't have a ton of bomb money at the moment. So instead, I spend the day harvesting the first kale of the season, putting things in the seed maker, and ordering a shed upgrade. I'm back on my underbuying seeds BS, so the next day I fill in the empty spots on my field with mixed seeds. In town, I accept a special order from Pam to make what is essentially vodka. Then I check out the abandoned Joja Mart to find that a lone purple Junimo has moved in, and has one more bundle for me to complete. At the library, I read a book on goblins, and discover that they love void mayonnaise. This is quite convenient since my first batch finished 2 days ago, and I've been saving it with the intention of giving it to Krobus. So I return to the Witch's Swamp and successfully bribe the henchman. While I'm there, I attempt to catch a void salmon, but it proves to be a little bit too jumpy to catch without any assistance. I walk into the witch's hut to find that no one's home, so I grab the magic ink and use the warp point to get to the wizard's tower. Rasmodius thanks me for retrieving his ink and shows me the Book of Summoning, which I can use to buy some very useful but very expensive buildings. However, when I attempt to go back down the ladder from whence I came, so I can get back up the mountain, the wizard stops me and tells me he only allows people he trusts to go in there. Okay, so you told me all about your ex-wife, and you asked me to retrieve this magic ink that you wanted back so badly, but you don't trust me? Kinda rude, Rasmodius. Kinda rude. In any case, I managed to make it back up the mountain in time to make an equally important delivery.
Do this. Hey, Sub. If I just disappeared, would it really matter? Yeah, it would kind of matter.
I hand Sebastian the bouquet, and he instantly shoots up to 9 hearts, as the gifts I've been giving him still counted towards his friendship points, even though he was at 8 hearts and we weren't dating yet. After such an eventful day, I wind down with some good old-fashioned wood chopping. The next day, my shed is done being upgraded, so I take a bit of time to rearrange some things and add to my keg collection. Then I return to the Witch's Swamp, this time with a trap bobber on my fishing rod. The first void salmon I catch is Gold Star, exactly what the purple Junimo has asked for. But I'm also curious about putting one of these into a fish pond, so I stick around to catch another. And it's a good thing I did, as I get an ancient seed artifact in a fishing chest on the next catch. I drop off the void salmon at the abandoned Joja Mart, then I spend the rest of the evening crafting even more machines to add to my shed. The keg and jar fest doesn't stop there. I spend most of the 10th chopping as much wood as I can. I pause at one point to make some grass starter so I can keep my herd of various animals fed, but otherwise it's putting my axe to work, which gets me to level 10 foraging. I choose the botanist profession so that any forage I pick up for gifts will always be iridium quality. On Spring 11, it's another good luck day, so I prep for another trip to the Skull Caverns. Unfortunately, I overdo it a little on buying bombs, which leaves me just short of the 500 gold I need to take the bus. On my way to sell some forage to Pierre, I witness an altercation between Penny and George. After I finish educating Penny on the concept of getting consent before touching a person's wheelchair, I get my gold and I finally get to the desert. The ladders are slow to come this time around, but the luck shows itself in some other ways, including my second prismatic shard. So despite only making it to level 56 this time, I'm still pretty happy with the outcome. The next day I buy another sprinkler from Krobus and spend the afternoon farming dust sprites and iron in the mines. Then it's time for the egg festival. I harvest my kale and show up ready to stomp Abigail in the egg hunt again. I'm so confident that I decide to take a different route this time around, and well, my hubris ends up getting the better of me. The next day, I buy more kale seeds and give Haley a sunflower for her birthday on the way home. Once my field is replanted, I pop down to the traveling cart to buy another rare seed. Then I head up the mountain to sell some old weapons to Marlin. I spend some time on level 100 of the mines trying to catch a lava eel, but all I get is trash. This is relevant because on the 15th, I accept Linus's community cleanup quest. He doesn't specify where I need to collect the trash from, so I return to the mines. In addition to the lava eel I finally managed to catch, I pull all 20 pieces of trash out of the water. And on top of that, I hit level 9 fishing that night. Depositing the trash will have to wait though, as it's another good luck day on the 16th. Indeed, it seems that luck is truly on my side that day, as I get an incredibly rare rabbit's foot drop from the first flying serpent I slay. I also get a peach sapling from a treasure room 17 levels down, which means I won't have to buy one from Pierre. The battery pack I get from an iridium bat is not quite as rare, but I'm happy to see it, as I'm struggling to get the 5 I need to repair the boat. By the time I reach level 93, it's already 12 AM. I keep pushing until on level 97, I'm faced with a decision. This shaft could get me to level 100 instantly, but there's a decent chance that it takes me beyond that level. So I take the safer route and end up passing out on level 98. Yeah, that one really stung. So the next day I drop off the trash for Linus's quest and spend the rest of the day tending to my farm. On the 18th, I get a recipe for fiber seeds from Linus, and the last of Pam's potato juice is done fermenting. It's also her birthday, so I gift her a parsnip on my way into town. I stop by Clint's to crack open a few geodes and order an iridium pickaxe. Gunther has his eyes on the prismatic shard in my backpack, but he's just getting this esperite for now. I head to Pam's house next to drop off her vodka order, then I stop by the abandoned Joja Mart to donate the prismatic shard and some caviar to the missing bundle. Finally, I order a stable from Robin and spend the rest of the day foraging and woodcutting. On spring 19, I pay a ridiculous amount of gold for a single battery pack, but that puts me at 4 of the 5 I need, so it's probably worth it. I buy another sprinkler from Krobus and place it in the greenhouse, and since it's a Friday, I decide to stop by the saloon in the evening so I can chat with everyone. I end up helping Gus by getting Pam to pay her tab. The next morning, my stable is ready and my Twitch chat ends up naming the horse Elmer. Don't think too hard about it. I get a letter from Lewis telling me about the mermaid's pendant, which means I've hit 10 hearts with dear sweet Sebastian. Pam also sends me a letter with a battery pack in it, which means I now have all of the materials required to fix the boat. Once I've harvested my kale, I pack up and head for the beach. I buy my last round of kale seeds on the way there, and since it's raining, I wander over to the tidal pools. I'm not quite ready to marry Sebastian yet, but I will be marrying him eventually, so I buy the pendant while I have the chance. Then I drop off the materials for the boat. My mind is racing as I finish the day replanting my kale and continuing my greenhouse expansion. Where will the boat take me? What will I find on the distant shore? New crops, maybe? How many people live there? Will there be a whole new town to explore? That night, I drift off with the thoughts of a tropical paradise dancing in my head.